Welcome back to BBC News. I want to bring my panel back in, Elizabeth Pipko and John McCarthy. And we were speaking a little bit earlier in the program about the New York City Mayoral Debate, which is happening tonight. And Elizabeth, I want to start with you. We were hearing from our correspondent what's expected. What do you make of Zohran Mamdani really winning over voters with his digital strategy, and a message also to some voters, we should say, who voted for President Trump in the November election?
Well, look, I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised at all. I've said this from day one. I'm not a supporter of Andrew Cuomo's. I think he's the better man for the job. I personally think I disagree with Zohran Mamdani on 99% of what he stands for. But every time he has an interview, I am impressed with him. I think he's charming. I think he's young. I think people are generally excited about having someone like that. I can understand even people deciding to vote for President Trump and deciding to vote for Mamdani. People like change, and I think Mamdani represents the same change that President Trump represented, and that change is what they want against political dynasties like the Clintons, for example, like the Cuomo family, for example. So it all makes a lot of sense. At the same time, I would assume that most Americans stand where I stand when it comes to hearing the word socialist and wanting to run the other direction, and I fear what's going to happen to New York if and probably when he becomes mayor.
John, we know that Zohran Mamdani has made many promises about what he would like to do in New York, free buses, rent freezing as well. Are these actually actionable things?
I mean, I think he's presenting an aspirational agenda. That's something that we've actually seen in a lot of focus groups after the primary, of people sitting and saying, I don't know how he's going to necessarily pull this off, but I like that he's thinking big. People really are feeling the affordability crisis in New York and really across the country. So any candidate who's able to center their message on that is someone who's going to definitely have a leg up in any election.
Do you think Democrats, though, John, can learn something from the way Zohran Mamdani has run his campaign? We haven't seen all Democrats endorse him for this race.
Well, I'd say two things on this. I think that Democrats can learn a simple message, which is that they want to see people who are fighting and they want to see people who are talking about costs. Everyone wants to paint him as this far left candidate, but really he's been running on an economic message. And that's something that every Democrat should listen to. The other thing I would step back and say is I actually think that politicians have something to learn from him. Because in the last few weeks, you've actually seen him doing the work of going into communities and talking to people who he disagrees with. He's walked back some of his statements on policing. He's met with the Jewish community, and he sat and said that I understand that some of the things that I have said have caused you harm, and I want to work with you. And I will say that's not something you say in elected office very much these days, so I applaud him for that.
Elizabeth, what do you think, Republicans looking at Zohran Mamdani's campaign might learn? As you said, he did this interview with Fox News just yesterday.
Well, look, I think for Republicans, this can be looked at in two ways. Number one, I completely agree with John. I think everyone should learn from this. Anyone who wants to seek political office can learn from him. He is not scared to talk to anyone. That's something that I have said Donald Trump kind of showed the entire world was necessary and important to do for a leading political figure in our country. Mamdani has spoken to the left and the right. He has done it with a smile on his face. He's been charming throughout. He's done it in a better way, I think, with Republican audiences than Cuomo has been able to do with his own Democrat audiences. It's actually been very strange to watch, and I think people should learn from that. At the same time, I think Republicans are going to take the win here because I think he represents a lot of what is wrong with the Democrat Party. I think in general, we've been talking about this push for socialism for quite some time, and as much as Democrats have tried to run away from it, the fact is this is one of the most popular Democrats in the country right now. He is very proud of being a socialist. He does not shy away from that word, and I think Republicans are going to let the entire country know, based on Zohran Mamdani and his probable win here, just how much the Democrat Party has changed.
But what do you make of President Trump saying he would withhold money from New York if Zohran Mamdani were to win?
Well, I think it's not that he is going to win. I think he's going to withhold funds if Zohran Mamdani decides to treat New York in the same way that a lot of Democrats around the country have treated their own states and cities. I think if he disrespects the NYPD or he goes against federal law when it comes to illegal immigration, there's plenty of things he can do to try to, fight the federal government. A lot of Democrats gain a lot of support with their base solely by going against Donald Trump and not by actually supporting their constituents. So we'll have to see what he does, but I understand that President Trump is pretty upset with the amount of people that are trying to pick a fight with him before they are trying to actually serve the communities that elect them.
We are, John, more and more seeing these kind of blue-led cities and states in a standoff with the administration.
Yeah, and it's important. We want to look at every election and try and read everything about the future of both parties from them. And the funny thing that I will say about this is, New York is as blue as it gets. I don't know that this really provides the path forward for Democrats. Republicans will certainly try and make that case. But if you actually want to get a real picture of what's going to be the path forward for them, look at what's happening in New Jersey and Virginia. Those governor races have also totally centered on economic messages. And they're running for centrist voters. They're running for independents. And if Democrats are able to win in both of those places, I think that sends a much stronger message about the feeling of the electorate writ large than what's happening in New York City.
Okay. Well, John, Elizabeth, really interesting discussion with both of you tonight. Thank you so much for joining us on BBC News.
Thank you.